Each week, we welcome to our NFG stage one of our highly talented members or special guests with something designed to help you and your business. And this week's guest is a seasoned speaker, author, performer, and storyteller. And by seasoned, in his case, that often means winter themed. During lockdown, he turned his all year round performances into engaging virtual ones, enabling him to reach further and wider, and now has him performing and networking all around the globe at the speed of light, much like his alter ego. Since 1986, he has also been known as the one and only Henley Santa. Can you guess who it is yet? Always keen on developing communication, literacy, and innovative ways to engage audiences in a positive, uplifting, and impactful way, and with great lessons for children and perhaps even greater productivity lessons for well-being within corporates. We bring to you our very own Mike Facherty. Good morning, Mike.
Thank you, Richard. I was nearly looking around to find this paragon of whom you were speaking. Yeah, I was going to have a quick chat today, if that's all right, about the Santa mantra. Now, most of you have already heard of it. A couple of newer people may not have. It's show appreciation, nurture thoughtful actions. And it's basically sets out to show the benefits of kindness and appreciation and valuing people within your family, within society, within your business, which is probably where we want to concentrate today. One of the main distinguishers between businesses is how they make staff, customers, and suppliers feel. If you were running a cafe, they don't necessarily come because your coffee is the best. If you've got the best coffee, but next door is not quite as good, but they've got a lovely, warm, welcoming atmosphere because they appreciate the customer, you're more likely to go there, even though the coffee might not be just exactly as good, but it's good. And the whole experience is better because of the atmosphere. And that atmosphere is based on appreciation. You're valued. There's a thing, what I would recommend for cafes, which, because I've done some work with cafes, is get to know your customers by name. Get to know what their regular order is likely to be. So you can say, as they walk in, hello, Joe, are you having your latte and your cream donut? And they may say, no, not today, but at least they know you know them. If you like, if you've got a specific CRM built in by knowing them, and you don't need a physical, a keyboard CRM to look them up. When you get regulars, you get to know them, and they feel welcome and they want to come back. And that's what you could perhaps call the cheers effect. Cheers, where everybody knows your name. There's a reason why that works. It's because you are valued, you are appreciated. And it's the same with your staff. Again, in cafes I've worked with where they were using Reading University students, some of them initially had really high turnover, and we were able to improve that staff retention hugely without spending a lot of money. You didn't have to double the hourly salary or anything wages to achieve that. But just little things like knowing their name, knowing when their birthday was, giving them a birthday card. And a little thing that one of the cafes I worked with did, which I thought was really useful, which we worked out together, was they actually gave staff lessons and allowed staff to invite other people. So they did things like how to study, because they were mainly using students as their staff. It was very useful to have lessons on how to study and on how to present essays, how to prepare their papers, all of which, it didn't actually cost anything, but it was valuable to the recipient. And I think this is always a good guideline on appreciation. It doesn't have to cost you very much, but it is valued by the person getting it. I mean, we've got examples on the board here. Sean, he will give you a quick look at your computer systems and tell you if he spots any problems. It doesn't cost him a lot of money to do that. It's a bit of time, but it's time that's invested in showing someone that you value them. Yuande, she sells really top-notch fragrances, etc. And we're not when I bought some stuff from her for Sue, she threw in a little bracelet she'd made for nothing. And it's, again, it's not cost a lot of money, but there is appreciation there and it makes you feel valued. And obviously, as Santa, I have a whole thing about appreciation and being valued and giving gifts. And one of the best embodiments of the Santa mantra that I've ever seen, and I'm sorry for the several people here who've had me on their podcast and I've told this story before, but I think it's a perfect embodiment. I was being Father Christmas for the Berkshire Blind Children Society. That's not what they're called, but I've lost the name. And I had one little girl that came up to me and she said, Father Christmas, well, actually, no, it was more recent. She said, Santa, I've got everything I need. This blind little girl, she said, I've got mum and dad love me. I don't need anything. What I would really like you to do is, can you take my wish, my gift, and give it to a child who actually needs it?
Wonderful.
And to my mind, that was, you know, she was showing appreciation for what she had. And that had nurtured this thoughtful action of passing on her wish for a child who needed it more. Even though any of us might have thought, oh God, I'm blind, give me something. But I think you get the point. And I'm going to consult my my presentation here. You know me, high tech presentation, scrap of paper, with some other examples. I've mentioned Yuande, I've mentioned Sean. But last week we bought online from Byron's Burgers, first time we've ever done it. And because we were a new customer, when the delivery was made, there was a little pot full of little bits of brownies, just as a little extra. And it must cost them pennies, but it immediately made us think really well of them because they valued the customer, a new customer, enough to give them a little gift. I talked already about using people's names in their regular orders, the cheers effect, and the CRM. But what I was looking at is we're coming up to Easter. So in the cafe setting, oh gosh, as Jen would say, I've got a teeth. In the cafe setting, it might be a nice idea just now to give customers a little piece of simnel cake or something of that sort, an Easter thing, or just organize for the staff and their children an Easter egg hunt during the week when it's not too busy, because the children are off at the moment anyway. Sorry, I just read something in the thing. I talked about the training and the learning and the extra gifts. And the other thing is, if you have a platform, I mean, Jenny, Wendy, you've all got platforms. So a way of showing appreciation is to actually get someone onto your platform so they can talk. Like today, Richard, Yuande, Cindy invited me onto this platform. Now, I might ramble on and be a bumbling idiot, but it gives me a chance on a platform to talk about stuff. And Richard's recording it so I can look at it later and say, oh yeah, that's where I went wrong and that's where I went. Oh, I got that bit right. Brilliant. And I also have a couple of odd bits, like where I've been putting things together, which are, you can't read it, I can. And I had the thought that a heartfelt thank you warms you all through like a mug of hot cocoa, because there you go, Santa, you see, hot cocoa. But we've all got places in our business where we could show appreciation. We could show appreciation to our staff. We could show appreciation to our customers. And we can show appreciation to our suppliers, because they're there every day. They're delivering. With the cafe, they have so many different deliveries every day, milk and coffee and cakes and rolls and made up sandwiches. But we got them to just put a little box of treats by the delivery door, and drivers come in and a flask of ready-made coffee. Come in, have your coffee, have a biscuit or whatever. And then, it's just a tiny little thank you. It didn't cost the cafe very much money at all. And that's the sort of thing that is really appreciated. And I came up with a lovely alliterative thing. Creating kindness culture keeps customers coming. They're not all the same letters, but it is alliterative in terms of the sound, isn't it? Because you've got a kindness culture. You may remember But because your culture of kindness, people come back because they feel valued, they feel appreciated because you're treating them with kindness. And whether that's staff retention or reducing customer churn or even keeping your suppliers happy. And I think you might get a point where you're perhaps a bit pushed for money, and people will give you a chance to get over it. They'll give you a chance if they know you appreciate them. Whereas if you're always skint and penny pinching and critical, they probably won't.